Homies, welcome to the stream. That sounds ridiculous. Let me see if I can make this look better. Hold up. Not really. Right, it's possible. I was gonna have to do that now. Right there. What's up, Wraith and Lon and Crystal and Pazoff? I guess that's how you say it. I had to go to Speedway and get a coffee. I'm out of coffee and shit. What's up? I was reading, man. I got my love. I hate how bad the light is. Like, hold on, let me get my ring light out. Amp things up a bit. Right here. Oh shit. Well, hold up. I'm on some. Whoops. Whoopee. God damn. Hold on. This tough. Y'all like this nigga is not professional. I know, bro. I'm figuring it out, bro. I mean, it helped a little bit. I cannot get my hat to look the way I want it to look on this goddamn. Anyway, says who needs a sky daddy anyways? Motherfucker, right? What's up, Alpha Wolf? You know what I mean? What's up, Bear Bear? Good to see you here, son. Mason, what up, Mason? All right, where was I? Okay, fuck it. Oh yeah. We was right here. Okay, so let us now consider the discipline of ethics, or as I've previously described it, the science of human values. What are the facts of human nature that generate the need for such a science? The first relevant aspect of human nature is an obvious one. Man is a living entity, a biological organism who faces the alternative of life or death. And as Rand has emphasized, it is this conditional nature of life, the alternative between life and death, that generates the concept of value. There is only one fundamental alternative in the universe: existence or non existence, and it pertains to a single class of entities, to living organisms. The existence of inanimate matter is unconditional. The existence of life is not. It depends on a specific course of action. Matter is indestructible. It changes its forms, but it cannot cease to exist. It is only a living organism that faces a constant alternative, the issue of life or death. Life is a process of self sustaining and self generated action. If an organism fails in that action, it dies. Its chemical elements remain, but its life goes out of existence. It is only the concept of life that makes the concept of value possible. It is only to a living entity that things can be good or evil. Rand does not consider the relation between facts and values to be a serious problem because for her, values represent a kind of fact. And in this regard, she follows in the tradition of Aristotelian philosophers. The concept of value expresses the beneficial or harmful relationship of some aspect of reality to a living organism. And to say that something is of value to an organism is to say that it is conducive to the life of that organism. When we say that water is of value to a plant, for example, we mean that water is conducive to the life of that plant. The concept of value in this instance signifies the life serving function of water in relation to the plant. And this relationship is objectively demonstrable. The value judgment involved here is true, i.e., it describes an actual relationship. The water will, in fact, further the life of the plant. So to say that water is of value to the plant is to describe a fact of reality. Therefore, in this case at least, there is no problem of deriving a value from a fact, as if one is dealing with two separate realms, because the value judgment expresses a fact. It is an estimate of a relationship, and this estimate is either accurate or inaccurate, true or false. Fucking A. Everyone agree with that so far? I mean, I do. I mean, what did he say that was wrong? What's up? Look at the trees in this bitch. That's the book we're reading, by the way. Atheism, the Case Against God. Look, the forward is by Lawrence Krauss. I also got a Lawrence Krauss book called A Universe from Nothing. So maybe I'll read that one sometime. Anyway, where was I? Did I wait? Hold on. Oh, okay. No, I don't know where I'm at. Oh, okay, I'm over here. All right. So, if this basic view of values is correct, then any attempt to divorce the realm of values from the realm of facts is fundamentally misguided at the outset. It's a mistake to speak of the facts of physics, biology, psychology, etc., in contrast to the realm of values. Rather, we should speak of the facts of physics and facts of biology, the facts of psychology, etc., and the facts of value. To claim that the sphere of values cannot be based or derived from facts is analogous to claiming that the spheres of physics or biology cannot be based on or derived from facts. Each of these disciplines is concerned, first and foremost, with describing reality. Their difference is not that some are concerned with facts while others aren't. All are concerned with describing the same reality, and all employ abstract principles in pursuit of this end. Instead, their difference lies in which particular aspect of reality each seeks to investigate. Like all existing things, animate and inanimate, man has a specific nature. And like all living organisms, his nature requires a specific means of survival. Unlike other life forms, however, man has the capacity for choice. While other life forms respond to their environment on the on the automatic level of sensations or perceptions, man's distinctive power of conceptualization permits him to deliberate before acting. He can compare his alternative courses of action, project their consequences, and decide on the action best suited to his needs. In other words, man has the ability to evaluate the alternatives confronting him. And the volitional, goal directed action of man is motivated by his evaluations. What a man values determines how he will act. As Brandon puts it, values constitute man's basic motivational tie to reality. We thus see that the concept of value applies to man in two different respects. First, there's the objective sense of value in which things are of value to man, i.e., conducive to his welfare, whether he chooses to recognize them or not. Second, there is the subjective sense of value in which value designates the result of an evaluative process. And a man's values, in this case, represent his personal preferences. It is possible, therefore, for a man to value things in a subjective sense that are not, in fact, of value to him in an objective sense. Man can pursue self destructive courses of action. He can pursue goals that are detrimental to his welfare. Nature doesn't provide him with an automatic means of survival. A being who does not know automatically what is true or false cannot know automatically what is right or wrong, what is good from evil. Yet he needs that knowledge in order to live. He is not exempt from the laws of reality. He is a specific organism of a specific nature that requires specific actions to sustain his life. He cannot achieve his survival by arbitrary means, nor by random motions, nor by blind urges, nor by chance, nor by whim. That which his survival requires is set by his nature and is not open to his choice. What is open to his choice is only whether he will discover it or not, whether he will choose the right goals and values or not. He is free to make the wrong choice, but not free to succeed with it. What then are the right goals for man to pursue? What are the values his survival requires? That is the question to be answered by by the science of ethics. And this is why man needs a code of ethics. You motherfuckers tracking so far? I mean, this isn't that difficult, but I mean, I understand if you're not following. What's going on, Jen? Homie, glad to see you're with us. I missed watching your chats. Story time. That's right, T man. The only reason why I'm here is because I've worked too much and I'm forced to take time off. I mean, I appreciate you being here. You know what I mean? Thanks. Oh God, I thought this was a random theist getting recommended to me again. Whew. I know, right? No worries. Obviously, you came here for a reason. Maybe you should watch and understand what reason that is. Maybe you're not talking to me. Ray says, I'm listening, bro. All right, well, let's do it. If man is to survive, he must acknowledge, or he must have knowledge of those principles of action conducive to his survival. And beyond the level of mere survival, if man is to achieve happiness, he must have knowledge of those principles of action conducive to happiness. Man must discover through a process of reason the values required for his survival and well being. To live successfully, man's subjective I value must be derived from the objective requirements of his life. Thus, concludes Rand, ethics is an objective, metaphysical necessity of man's survival. Ethics deals with the facts of value as they apply to human nature. As they apply to human action and the achievement of human goals. Like all normative sciences, ethics is concerned primarily with facts, with what is objective, what is objectively of value to man. And it seeks to apply this knowledge to the realm of human choices and goals. It is this application of values to human action that generates the normative character of ethics, thus giving rise to its various ought judgments. If X is of value to man, then man ought to have to value and pursue X if he wants to further his life and well-being. Insofar as ethics seeks to discover and systematize factual knowledge of values, it is a science. Insofar as ethics seeks to apply this knowledge of values to human goals, it is a normative science. Insofar as ethics deals with fundamental values and goals, those required by the nature of man as such, or by man qua man, it is a branch of philosophy. Like other branches of philosophy, ethics deals with basic concepts, and it attempts to derive the principles of action conducive to fundamental goals. Ethics is concerned with man's life as a whole, and it evaluates particular actions within that context. Ethics enables man to project the long-range consequences of his actions and to evaluate the desirability of specific actions in terms of their effect on long-range goals. There's widespread disagreement in philosophy over whether there exists for man an ultimate value, a supremely important value for which other lesser values serve as means. An examination of this complex issue would lead us far astray. So for the purpose of this discussion, I shall posit happiness as man's ultimate value. Okay. I will not argue that all men actually pursue happiness, nor that all men ought to pursue happiness, whatever such an assertion might mean. Rather, I shall offer happiness as a hypothetical goal. In other words, if a man desires happiness, then he ought to be concerned with those conditions, those values that are conducive to his happiness. This discussion of ethics, therefore, is directed at those who are concerned with their own happiness and well-being. For these are the people who are in need of a rational code of values to direct their choices and actions. To the extent that a man is concerned with his own welfare, he need not bother with ethics. His indifference to principles and long range goals will bring him misery soon enough. Ethics, in this view, is concerned with the facts of value as those facts relate to the pursuit of a man's long range happiness. This is a teleological or goal directed approach to ethical theory, in direct contrast to a deontological or duty centered approach to ethical theory. A simple way of contrasting these approaches is as follows. Teleological ethics is concerned primarily with the good, with that which is of value, and it determines what man ought to do within the context of this goal. Deontological ethics, on the other hand, gives priority to what man ought to do, his duty, and it defines the good with reference to these moral rules, apart from any goals. It's impossible to discuss here the many implications entailed by the distinction between teleological and deontological ethics. I shall simply note that it is the normative judgment of deontological ethics where an ought is prescribed without reference to a goal that cannot be grounded in facts. One ought to do X. Why? Because it is morally required and one ought to do it. This characteristic approach of deontological ethics forever severs values from facts, and it generates the notorious is-ought dichotomy that is so widely discussed in contemporary philosophy. To the extent that an ethical theory declares itself indifferent to man's welfare and happiness, it thereby condemns itself. The preceding discussion of ethics, although brief, is sufficient to point out that ethics, like every normative science, is based on facts, and the normative ought judgments of ethics are as capable of verification as the normative recommendations of medicine and architecture. As stated previously, however, a normative science is only as good as the facts on which it rests, and a valid science of human values must be rooted in the nature of man as a biological and psychological organism. Some philosophers fear that positing happiness as an ultimate value will lead to a world of greedy, amoral barbarism, where each man seeks to exploit and trample his neighbor. Bad psychology, however, makes for bad ethics. Just as man is a biological organism with a specific nature, so is he also a psychological organism with a specific nature. And just as any random action will not result in a man's physical well-being, so any random action will not result in a man's psychological well-being. The laws of psychology are as real and binding as the laws of biology. And just as man is free to pursue a destructive course of action, but is not free to escape its physical consequences, so is he not free to escape its psychological consequences. The issue of happiness, therefore, cannot be considered apart from the facts of human psychology. Just as a doctor cannot pursue medicine without a respect for the facts of human anatomy, so the philosopher cannot pursue ethics or discuss what will and will not result in happiness without a respect for the facts of man's psychology. Those philosophers who object to an ethic of happiness or well-being on the grounds that it permits every person to do as he pleases without regard for the life and property of others displays a shocking disregard for even the rudimentary facts of human psychology. It is for this reason that one good book on psychology, such as Nathaniel Branden's The Psychology of Self-Esteem, can do more to advance the science of ethics than any number of modern analytic works on ethical theory, which, more often than not, treat the subject of ethics as if it has no connection whatever to human happiness and the business of living. Before closing this discussion, it should be mentioned that ethics, since it is concerned with fundamental human values, serves as a unifying force that enables man to integrate the various spheres of human action into a consistent pattern. Just as metaphysics provides a transition from physics to biology to psychology, so ethics provides a transition from economics to social theory to politics and so forth. How can one derive from the principles guiding one's own life the principles required for dealing with other men? How can one evaluate the relative importance of various alternatives from which one must choose? What is the relationship between economics and politics? None of these questions, or any similar questions, can be answered without reference to fundamental human values and goals, and it is the function of ethics to provide a basic framework from which such answers may be derived. By providing man with a coherent system of principles, Ethics enables man to live as an integrated being. And in a very real sense, the neglect of ethics results in disintegration, both existential and psychological, where individual and social issues are considered without reference to basic principles, where physical coercion becomes the accepted means of social interaction, and where man feels as if he were living in a schizophrenic universe, a vast jigsaw puzzle where none of the pieces fit together. Normative ethics and metaphysics. I'm sorry, and meta ethics. My brain just be trying to like get to the word, you know what I'm saying? What's up, Grand Portage? What you got a are you are y'all saying you have a question? I don't have any questions. I appreciate you six motherfuckers being here. Let's keep going. So, in order to understand the differences between the rational and religious approaches to ethics, it's necessary to draw a common distinction between two aspects of ethical theory: normative ethics and meta ethics. Okay, let's get out our handy dandy highlighter rather. I know I don't have a very interesting live stream. I just be reading, bro. Like, and normative ethics refers to the content or specific principles of a moral code, such as the maxims: one ought to be honest and one ought to respect the rights of others. Meta ethics pertains to the criteria and meaning of ethical terms themselves, such as value, moral, and immoral. What is a value judgment? Can value judgments be justified rationally? What does moral mean? What does immoral mean? How do we know when to apply these and similar judgments? The answers to these and similar questions fall within the scope of metaethics. Put simply, normative ethics tells us what we ought to do, while metaethics tells us what we even mean by the word ought. Ethical conflicts may occur in either of these areas. So, y'all get it? Normative ethics tells you what you should do, and metaethics tells you what the fuck this should even mean. You know what I'm saying? In the sphere of normative ethics, the disagreeing parties accept the same metaethics, but disagree about factual elements of the situation in question or about the interpretation and application of their metaethics. As an example of this, consider the doctrinal disagreements among fundamentalist Christians, all of whom accept the Bible as an authoritative source in ethics. While these Christians frequently disagree among themselves over points of detail, they all accept the same meta-ethical foundation. If one Christian could demonstrate that the Bible prohibits a given action, that action would be accepted as immoral by other fundamentalists without further argument, because there's an agreement here concerning the meaning and use of moral terms. The second kind of disagreement, the meta-ethical disagreement, is more basic than the preceding one. Here, one party may concede that according to his adversary's moral criteria, the action being discussed is indeed immoral. He does not question the application of the criteria. Rather, he questions and demands justification for the use of such criteria to begin with. This kind of conflict occurs when an atheist argues moral issues with a Christian. If the Christian contends that blasphemy is immoral because the Bible forbids it, the atheist will not deny that the Bible forbids blasphemy. Instead, the atheist will refuse to accept the Bible as a criterion of morality, and he will refuse to accept the concept of immoral. That means that which is prohibited by the Bible. Thus, meta-ethical disagreements focus not on the application of previously accepted criteria, but on the meaning and use of moral terms themselves. It has become fashionable among some philosophers to exclude the realm of normative ethics from philosophical inquiry. Philosophy, they tell us, can reasonably investigate the meaning of moral terms, but it cannot, as a discipline, prescribe any particular code of values over any other. Since philosophy represents man's most fundamental kind of rational inquiry, the implication is that normative ethics is excluded from the domain of reason altogether, which surrenders moral issues of substance to religion and faith by default. from our previous discussions of ethics as the science of human values, it should be clear that both normative ethics and meta ethics are the proper concern of philosophy and rational deliberation. There is no reason whatever to suppose that philosophers must confine themselves to the analysis of language and concepts while excluding moral issues of substance. It should be noted, however, that many contemporary philosophers focus on metaethics, sometimes, unfortunately, at the expense of normative ethics, because they recognize this to be the most crucial aspect of ethical theory. After all, before we can discuss what is good for man, we must agree on the meaning of good. Before we can discuss whether a given action is moral, we must agree on the use of the term moral. Most serious conflicts in ethical theory are of a meta-ethical nature, and we shall see that the conflict between rational morality and religious morality is no exception. Just to pause there for a second, that makes me think about like when I'll just speak for myself. When I debate Christians about the whole fucking slavery issue, I'm coming from a normative ethics perspective, a normatively ethical perspective. I guess you could say it that way. You know what I mean? Where it's like the Bible says you can own slaves. And I'm saying owning slaves is wrong. And then they'll come back and then want to disagree and argue from a metaphysical or meta-ethical position where they want to even disagree with what a slave is. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's exactly what we run into. It's like we're not even arguing from the same, you know what I'm saying, from the same starting point. Like I'm arguing ethics from a normative perspective. You're arguing, or at least trying to I don't want to say debunk, but you're trying to debate me. You're trying to I can't think of the fucking word, but you want to rebut my argument essentially by disagreeing with on the terms being used. You know what I'm saying? It's like you know what the fuck a slave is, motherfucker. Now all of a sudden, because you and I just read that the Bible said you could own slaves, now you want to be like, well, what does it mean to own? What does property even mean? What the fuck does slave mean? Like you're making it seem like it's antebellum South slavery. We're trying just like see now, you know what I mean? It's like so once you want to, so here I am just accepting the terms of the, you know what I'm saying, the words as they are on the page. You know what I'm saying? And reading them as they are, and then just debating the ethics of what is prescribed. While they're wanting to debate pedantically on the terms, on the motherfucking words, as if they don't fucking know what these words mean in any other context. Because if they had read that from the fucking Quran, there'd be no normative, there'd be no debate from the metaphysical perspective or the meta-ethical perspective. It'd only be normative. They'd be on my side like a motherfucker, like, you're right. How dare they allow you to own another motherfucker? And I'm like, but as soon as you slap fucking Leviticus on that bitch, you're like, oh, well, what even is a slave? You know what I mean? And it's like, get the fuck out of here. It's like that's what I be talking about. Like, so now I get at least from a philosophical perspective what is happening here, the nature of the issue when I debate fucking slavery with the fucking Christian. Like I'm coming from a normatively ethical perspective, while you're trying to debate from a meta-ethical perspective. And it's like that's why we can't come to terms. So I mean that's why I guess it would help that if you're going to engage in a debate with a Christian regarding the biblical slavery issue, you should probably start with defining your terms. Like, all right, I'm saying that the Bible makes the Bible makes a case for the God of said Bible condoning, sanctioning, allowing, permitting, commanding slavery. You know what I mean? And so then you'll have, so I guess what we have to first determine here is how do we know that that's what's being said here? So then we'll read the words. And now we'll have to determine what do these words mean? What does it mean to own? What does it mean as property? What does it mean to be a slave? You know what I mean? It's like all that shit. What does it mean to be a heathen or to beat your slave with your male or female slave with a rod, as long as they don't die immediately, as long as they cling to life for a few days, you're good to go. But if they die after a few days, fuck it, it ain't your fault. You can do whatever you want with them. They're your property. Exodus 21, verse 20 and 21, I think. So yeah. So now I understand where the problem what the problem is. All right, the second kind of disagreement, meta-ethical disagreements, is more basic than the preceding one here. Yeah, we already got that. This kind of conflict occurs when an atheist argues more. Oh, we already said that. It has become fashionable among some philosophers to exclude. Okay, we already read that. Okay, yeah, we were over here. All right, we were over here. We were over here. Earlier in this chapter, I condemned religious ethics generally and Christian ethics specifically, while stipulating that this doesn't necessarily imply disagreement with the content of every principle advocated by these approaches. For example, Christianity prohibits theft, and to reject Christian morality is not to suggest that theft merits approval. It is possible for some principles of for Christian ethics to coincide with irrational ethics, although many assuredly don't. But any such coincidences does not affect the basic condemnation of Christian ethics. In condemning Christian morality, I am attacking its basic approach to ethical theory, i.e., its metaethics or criteria of ethical standards. It is Christianity's fundamental view of moral principles and their role in human existence that must be rejected in its entirety. We shall now contrast a rational metaethics with a religious metaethics, and we shall see how these approaches are diametrically opposed, both from a philosophical standpoint and in terms of their psychological impact. And we shall see that this opposition persists despite any occasional and superficial similarity in content. A rational morality is based on standards. A religious morality is based on rules. In essentials, religious, rational and religious moral codes are as different as life and death. An analogy that in this context is particularly appropriate. Now we're going to get into rational morality. But real quick, let's say hello to whoever just came in here. What's up, Occult Examiner? I am a full-on atheist. Anybody else here? Yeah, pretty much the majority of us. I don't know if the majority of us currently in the chat are atheists, but I'd say the overwhelming majority of my audience generally are atheists, or at the very least agnostics. You know what I mean? They're probably still atheists because you can be an agnostic and an atheist, or an agnostic and a theist. You know what I mean? I think if you're a Christian and an honest one, which is an oxymoron, an honest Christian, there's no such thing. But yeah, if they were honest with themselves, they would consider themselves agnostic theists, which would suggest that they don't know if their God is real, but they believe he is. You know what I mean? So you can be an agnostic Christian. You just can't be an atheistic Christian. That doesn't make any fucking sense. So, anywho, a rational morality, in essence, keep this in mind. A rational morality. This is the kind of morality to which I subscribe. A rational morality, in essence, is a code of values required by man for his survival, well-being, and happiness. This is axiomatic, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to justify wanting to live or wanting to live a happy, well-meaning life. Like, of course, who the fuck wouldn't? Who the fuck was like, no, I just want to live a life of misery. I don't want a single moment of happiness. But then if you were to get that, wouldn't that be getting what you wanted? Wouldn't that make you then happy? It's just ridiculous. So it's as far as I'm concerned, survival, well-being, and happiness are axiomatic. Period. You don't have to offer justification for something that's axiomatic. So that said, the term rational is used because such a code must be based on the facts of human value, and only reason can determine what is and is not of value to man. A rational metaethics, therefore, is based on man's need for objective values, his need to determine those goals that are conducive to his well being. To take a simple illustration, food is of value to man. It is instrumental in maintaining his life. Poison is not. If man is to survive, he must value food and disvalue poison. Man's evaluations must be based on and agree with those things that are actually of value to him. Just as a rational man is committed to facts and the use of reason, so a rational morality is based on the facts of human value and the role of reason in man's survival. Three aspects of man's nature constitute the foundation of a rational metaethics: the fact that man is a conceptual being, the fact that man is a volitional being, and the fact that man is a purposive being. That is the weirdest. I've never heard anyone use the word purposive. Purposive, motherfucker, purposive. Like, what are we saying? The motherfucker acts with purpose. Okay, you could have just said that in order to satisfy his needs. Volition means that man is the initiator of the. Oh wait, hold on. We ain't got that far yet. I skipped the paragraph. Let's back up. Purposive being. I can't stand it. Man's ability to conceptualize, to mentally to abstract, isolate, and integrate observed particulars enables him to think in terms of principles, to project the long range consequences of his actions, and to be aware of his own cognitive processes and psychological states. It is through conceptual thought that man gains knowledge of his needs, capacities in the external world. And it is through conceptual thought that man gains knowledge of how to exercise his capacities in the external world in order to satisfy those needs. Volition means that man is the initiator of thought and action, that he has the capacity to generate and sustain a thought process and a physical movement. It should be mentioned that volition, properly considered, does not violate the principle of causality. Volition does not mean that man's thoughts and actions are uncaused. It means instead that with regard to some thoughts and actions, man is the cause. So, volition entails man's freedom to choose among existing alternatives, his choice not being determined by factors beyond his control. Because man is free to choose his actions, because he is not biologically programmed to act in a given manner. He requires a code of values, a system of principles to direct his choices. Man's volitional nature necessitates that he choose to think and act in order to survive. Man's purposive nature, fucking hell, means that man is goal directed, that he is not and cannot be bound to perceptual range of the moment responses. Since man is faced with alternatives, and since he is free to choose among them, if he conceptualizes his choice, he must think in terms of a purpose, a value preference as it applies to and motivates human action. Necessarily implies a goal or end, namely the object, process, or state that is valued. To summarize these three elements, man's conceptual capacity is his ability to think in terms of principles. Man's volition necessitates that he thinks in terms of principles, and man's purposiveness determines the content of those principles. It is not enough for a man to know only the abstract role of principles in human survival. One must be able to determine concretely, within the context of one's own life, how to achieve the values required for one's physical and mental well being. If man is to achieve goals, he must have some method of predicting which actions are conducive to those goals. This is the function of standards. A standard is a principle used to predict the consequences of one's actions. As a predictive principle, a standard directs man's choices, thus providing the essential link between action and the acquisition of desired values. A rational morality is one that recognizes the crucial role of standards in human survival, a morality based on man's need to attain values consonant with his nature. Since it specifies the causal relationship between a goal and the action required to achieve it, a standard is best described as a statement of natural necessity. The role of natural necessity in human motivation is not a new discovery. It was known by Aristotle in what is now called practical reasoning, or a practical syllogism. A general example of this syllogism is the following: Mr. Jones wants X. In order to obtain X, one must do Y. Therefore, Mr. Jones ought to, or must do, or should do Y. Duh. In this syllogism, the first premise states that Mr. Jones's end or goal that he wants X. The second premise is a standard that specifies the action necessary to attain goal X. And the conclusion is the concretization of the standard as it applies to the specific case of Mr. Jones. The conclusion is prescription to act and ought judgment derived from a goal and the action required to achieve it. Implied in the conclusion, Mr. Jones ought to do Y is the further condition if he wants to attain goal X. Georg Heinrich von Wright, an ethical theorist, describes a practical syllogism as a syllogism where the person who reasons reaches the conclusion that his wants, what the fuck, plus a certain natural necessity impose upon him the practical necessity of acting in a certain manner. Okay. In her article, Causality versus Duty, Ayn Rand elaborates on this scheme. Reality confronts man with a great many musts, but all of them are conditional. The formula of realistic necessity is you must if, and the if stands for man's choice. If you want to achieve a certain goal, you must eat if you want to survive. You must work if you want to eat. You must think if you want to work. You must look at reality if you want to think. If you want to know what to do, if you want to know what goals to choose, if you want to know how to achieve them. Every statement of natural necessity is conditional. One ought to do this if one wants such and such. In rational morality, there can be no ought divorced from purpose. A standard presupposes a goal and has relevance only within the context of that goal. Likewise, the application of a standard and the subsequent ought have no relevance outside the goal that made them possible. As the basic method by which man achieves values, standards constitute the meta-ethical foundation of rational morality. It must be remembered that within the framework of a standard meta-ethics, one's goals are primary, and the standards must be derived accordingly. Moral principles, in this view, are subservient to human purposes. One does not adopt a moral principle and cling to it through a complete change of context while losing sight of the goal with which it was originally associated. In other words, it makes little sense to speak of obeying or disobeying a standard. One does not obey a standard. One adopts and follows it in a given context for a given purpose. Whether or not one follows a specific standard depends upon the desirability of its goal and one's judgment of the standard's effectiveness in achieving that goal. One's motivation to follow a standard stems from the prior motivation to achieve a particular goal. This brief discussion is intended only to illustrate the motivational link between rational ethics and human action, and it should not be construed as a definitive presentation of this complex issue. Many important subjects cannot be pursued here, but the relevance of the foregoing remarks will become apparent upon considering the nature of religious ethics. Chapter 12, The Sins of Christianity. I'm gonna pause right there just for a second because I'm gonna hit this blunt again and take a sip of some of this house blend Speedway coffee with a lot of sugar, cream, and hazelnut. Mm. If they don't have this shit in heaven, I don't want to go anyway. If I can't smoke a blunt in heaven and get fucking high, I don't want to go to fucking heaven. If I have to go to heaven and see Jesus or hear Jesus, I'm gonna have PTSD and feel like just out of like I would just have to like beat his ass just one time. I have to slap the shit out of him. You know what I'm saying? Like how they doing those slap competitions and shit, right? You know what I mean? I'll wind it up. I I'll try to knock the Holy Ghost out of Jesus. Like that's why I couldn't go. And God knows that. Assuming all this is real, of course. God knows. He's like, I can't send that motherfucker here. He mean it. He will slap the shit out of you, Jesus. And he ain't the only one. So The goddamn Bear is my homie from another pony. My homie from another pony. And he's not a jabroni. No, I don't know. What's up, son? I blame Paul, Dad. What you mean? What you blame Paul for? I blame Peter. I was watching the Bart Ehrman podcast the other day, and I guess there's widespread agreement amongst scholars. I think this is what he was saying, was that like there's a case to be made that Peter was like largely responsible for the spread of Christianity in the early Christian centuries. Like obviously Paul played a role too, but I think a lot of people want to say that Peter had like the biggest role. So like if you could somehow tie your parish to Jesus, or to Peter rather, then you were somehow connected to directly with Jesus. And so some shit like that. So this is just something I heard. I have to look more into it. You know what I mean? I haven't really read much on that particular subject, but that's what I heard from the podcast, and I'm probably paraphrasing it incorrectly. You know what I mean? But I watch a lot of the Bart Ehrman podcast. Like that's one of the ones I watch regularly. You know, just to get his take, because I read so many of his books. I mean, this ain't one of them, but he's not as scathing in his critique of criticism, or in his critiques of Christianity, as this dude is. Like this dude, he's gonna say pretty much everything except fuck Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm saying it for him. Fuck Christianity. You know what I mean? All right. Religious morality. This is page 297, by the way. How many pages is this goddamn book? 326 pages. I'm not about to read all of them tonight. I'm just saying. In fact, I'm about to stop at the conflicting virtues. All right, let's go. Religious morality. That don't even make sense. That's an oxymoron. Religious morality. Ain't no such thing. Anyway, religious morality, as the phrase is used throughout this discussion, designates any code of values ultimately derived from the alleged commandments of a supernatural being. This view of morality is clearly presented in the Bible, i.e., the Ten Commandments, and is generally typical of any revealed religion. Yeah, but which Ten Commandments? You know what I mean? Are they the ones that are in, what is it? Exodus 20? No, not 20. It might be 20. I think it's Exodus 20. But then there's also some in, like, I think it's Exodus 34. And those aren't the same. Like those are not at all the same. So like which Ten Commandments? The Ten Commandments that we all are familiar with, that's like don't fucking kill, don't steal, don't worship other gods, all that bullshit. Or is it the other one that's like don't boil a goat in its mother's milk? Which ones? So, anywho, basically, religious morality defends a universal moral order established by God and existing independently of man. Man is born into this moral structure where he finds that his foremost duty is to obey the dictates of his supernatural lawgiver. Morality, according to this view, serves the purpose of God, not man, and man is required to subordinate himself to this moral code. Obedience is the major virtue, disobedience, the major vice. The most obvious characteristic of religious morality is its authoritarian nature. As soon as the good or the moral are defined with reference to divine fiat, we are discussing a theory steeped in authoritarianism. And where we have an authority, we have sanctions. And where we have sanctions, we have moral rules. Rules, as we'll see, are basic to the metaethics of religious morality. Rules are to religious morality what standards are to rational morality. I need a cigarette. It's getting real up in this bitch. Hold on. Y'all motherfuckers take notes, man. This is my last cigarette. It's about to get super serious. Because I'm about to be without nicotine and shit. I mean, I can go get some more, but that's not a flex. I do not have a lot of money right now. Like I got less than like $60. And I don't get paid till next Thursday. The struggle is real, is what I'm saying. Shit. That's why I ain't been like super chatting and shit. I don't got I still gotta get through next week. I still gotta get to Thursday, son. Brother, I had to grab the gas can. I have a 1 gallon gas can, you know what I'm saying, for the lawnmower and shit. But I recently filled it and then like haven't needed to use it, obviously. You know what I mean? But it was like when I was still like thinking that I might have to cut the yard one more time. Because I was raking it like a motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? But I was debating on whether or not I was going to cut it one more again. So I went ahead and filled up the little gas can, you know what I'm saying? So the other day, shit, I had to use that motherfucker to put in my car. You know what I'm saying? Like I not all of it. It was just to get me to the thing. But I'm back. I'm just saying, man, you gotta do what you gotta do, dog. That lawnmower don't need no gas. We ain't cutting shit. There is snow outside. Okay. Here we go. A rule is a sanctioned principle of action. A sanction is a physical or psychological means of coercion or intimidation used for the purpose of motivating obedience to a principle of action. To illustrate these definitions, consider some rules that we encounter every day. Traffic laws. If a posted speed limit did not carry the threat of enforcement by the police, it wouldn't, properly speaking, be a law. Or, for our purpose, it wouldn't function as a rule. Laws carry the threat of punishment by the state for disobedience. This is their sanction, and this is why they are designated as rules. The state sanction of punishment exists for the purpose of motivating compliance with the law. If speed limits weren't enforced, if there were no penalty for ignoring them, then they would function as standards for the goal of traffic safety. Then they would not function as standards for the goal of safety. What? Let me read that again because that didn't make sense. Hold on. If speed limits were not enforced, if there were no penalty for ignoring them, then they would function as standards for the goal of traffic safety. No, see, that's a typo. Because they would not function as standards for, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't. One would follow a speed limit if one desired traffic safety, assuming that one considered the speed limit to be a means of attaining it. Failure to observe the posted guideline would presumably result in an increased number of accidents. But the speed limit as a standard would not carry an imposed penalty, a sanction, for the fact of disobedience itself. If one observes the speed limit because one wishes to avoid getting a ticket, one is responding to the limit as a rule. Regardless of whether one sees the limit as a means to traffic safety or whether one desires the goal of traffic safety, one will still obey the limit from fear of the sanction placed upon it. We see, therefore, that one does not follow a rule in the same sense that one follows a standard. One obeys a rule and does so because of its sanction. While a standard appeals to the motive of desiring its goal, a rule appeals to the motive of desiring or fearing its sanction. This is the basic motivational difference between standards and rules. Religion has traditionally appealed to the will of a god as justification for its moral principles. To the question, why should I do X? Religion has answered, because it is the will of God. To the further question, why should I obey the will of God? Religion has answered, because he will punish or reward you accordingly, either in this life or in an afterlife. The power of a supernatural being has thus served as a moral sanction. One obeys a principle not because one desires its causal result, but because one fears its sanction, in this case, the wrath of God. The fundamental characteristic of religious morality is that it views every moral principle, in effect, as a traffic law. One is rewarded or punished according to how well one snaps into line with a prescribed set of rules. These rules, when acted upon, do have consequences, as does every human action. But the desirability of those consequences is not the agent's primary motive for acting. Instead, he is motivated to act by the sanction accompanying the rule. The oldest and crudest form of a rule sanction is the use or threat of physical force. This is manifested in Christianity by the doctrine of hell. The belief in eternal torment, still subscribed to by fundamentalist Christian denominations, undoubtedly ranks as the most vicious and reprehensible doctrine of classical Christianity. It has resulted in an incalculable amount of psychological torture, especially among children, where it is employed as a terror tactic to prompt obedience. Many examples are available, but one should suffice. An English priest named Father Furness, interesting, wrote a series of books for children in the last century, which enjoyed a wide circulation among English Catholics well into this century. Dubbed the Children's Apostle, Furness specialized in describing the tortures of hell. Here's an example depicting the torments of a child in hell. His eyes are burning like two burning coals. Two long flames come out of his ears. Sometimes he opens his mouth, and breath of blazing fire rolls out. But listen, there is a sound just like that of a kettle boiling. Is it really a kettle boiling? No. Then what is it? Hear what it is. The blood is boiling in the scalding veins of that boy. The brain is boiling and bubbling in his head. The marrow is boiling in his bones. Ask him why he is thus tormented. His answer is that when he was alive, his blood boiled to do very wicked things. Here's another gem. A little child is in this red hot oven. Hear how it screams to come out. See how it turns and twists itself about in the fire. It beats its head against the roof of the oven. It stamped its little feet on the floor. You can see on the face of this little child what you see on the faces of all in hell: despair, desperate, and horrible. Nice. And this is what he was writing for children. Yikes, goddammit. Hell stands as a constant reminder of the essence of Christianity. God is to be obeyed because, in the final analysis, he is bigger and stronger than you. And in addition, he is incomparably more vicious. With the warning, obey God or burn in hell, we have a straightforward illustration of a physical sanction, as well as a revealing glimpse into the core of Christianity. Today, many moderate and liberal denominations play down the concept of hell or deny it altogether. Nevertheless, their moral codes remain drenched in rules. But without the benefit of hell, what is used as a rule sanction? The answer lies within the realm of psychological sanctions. Recall that a sanction may be physical or psychological. Physical sanctions are usually uncomplicated and easy to detect, whereas psychological sanctions are often complex and subtle, which explains why they're rarely identified. A psychological sanction is a moral term that is used for the purpose of psychological intimidation, which is intended to motivate compliance with rules. Moral terms, when used in this fashion, function as psychological cue words, words used to trigger emotions rather than convey information. A physical sanction, if successful, causes the emotion of fear. A psychological sanction, if successful, causes the emotion of guilt. A man motivated by fear may still retain an element of rebelliousness, of determination to strike back given the opportunity. A man motivated by guilt, however, is a man with a broken spirit. He will obey the rules without question. A guilt-ridden man is the perfect subject for religious morality. And this is why psychological sanctions have been extremely effective in accomplishing their purpose. Religions have long recognized the importance of inculcating a sense of guilt in order to motivate people to obey God's rules. But the feeling of guilt doesn't automatically follow from the thought of disobeying a supernatural being, even for those who believe in one. Emotions are the consequence of implicit or explicit value judgments. So it was necessary for Christianity to provide the missing evaluative link between the thought of disobeying God and the experience of guilt. This gap was filled nicely by the concept of sin. The notion of sin is perhaps the most effective sanction ever invented. For a Christian, to sin is the worst thing imaginable, and the thought of committing a sin can cause intense guilt. Anyone who comes from a religious background can appreciate the tremendous psychological force of this concept. Sin represents something metaphysically monstrous, something that directly undercuts a man's sense of self-esteem. And this adds to its effectiveness as a manipulative device. Friedrich Nietzsche, in his vitriolic but penetrating attack on Christianity, clearly recognized the function of sin in this context. Sin, he writes, that form par excellence of the self-violation of man, was invented to make science, culture, every kind of elevation and nobility of man impossible. The priest rules through the invention of sin. In order to understand fully the nature of sin as a psychological sanction, we must examine the relationship between sin and disobedience to God. Are these notions identical, or do they differ in some respect? The answer to this question becomes apparent upon considering the following statements. A. I have disobeyed God, but I have done nothing wrong or evil. B. I have sinned, but I have done nothing wrong or evil. Is statement A contradictory? No, not necessarily. Even working from the presupposition that God exists, there's nothing intrinsic to the idea of disobedience that requires a negative evaluation. This God, after all, may be an evil creature, in which case disobedience may be evaluated as good or desirable. There is no value judgment in the mere thought of disobedience per se. Is statement B contradictory? Yes, obviously so. Included within the concept of sin is a negative moral evaluation. So the admission of sin entails an admission of evil or wrongdoing. To accept the concept of sin presupposes that one believes in a God and that one believes disobeying this God to be intrinsically wrong. We see then that sin and disobedience to God do differ. The concept of sin includes the notion of disobedience plus a built-in condemnation of that disobedience. It is this evaluative element that causes guilt. It must be emphasized that the Christian who accepts the idea of sin cannot evaluate each particular divine rule as good or evil. To do so would require a standard of goodness apart from the will of God. If, however, the standard of goodness exists independently of God's will, the concept of sin is stripped of its force as a psychological sanction. To disobey God on this basis may coincide with what is judged to be immoral by an independent standard, since it might be argued that God always chooses the good. But there is no necessary connection here between disobedience and immoral action. The effectiveness of sin as a psychological sanction rests precisely on the fact that for many theists, disobeying God functions as a criterion of immoral action. Acting contrary to God's will is included within the definition of immoral. It therefore follows tautologically that disobeying God is immoral and following God's rules is considered a necessary prerequisite for being a good or moral person. Thus, once the concept of sin is accepted, statement A is contradictory. With the presupposition of sin, it is absurd to say, I have disobeyed God, but I have done nothing wrong or evil. Disobedience is already implicitly contained within the meanings of wrong and evil. This leaves the believer in sin with the following example of circular reasoning. One should not disobey God because to do so is a sin. And what is sin? A sin is disobeying God. Circular reasoning. This, although rarely made explicit, this is the basic pattern underlying the concept of sin and psychological sanctions in general. The circularity is necessitated by the nature of a rule based metaethics. The moral is defined in terms of obedience to rules. And for Christianity, the concept of sin serves as a guilt inducer to motivate this obedience. The essential role that sin plays in Christianity has been summarized eloquently by C.S. Lewis, a popular Protestant writer. In the following passage, note the connections made. First, between sin and disobeying God, and second, between sin and a sense of guilt. A recovery of the old sense of sin is essential to Christianity. Christ takes it for granted that men are bad. Until we really feel this assumption of his to be true, though we are part of the world he came to save, we are not part of the audience to whom his words are addressed. And when men attempt to be Christians without this preliminary consciousness of sin, the result is almost bound to be a certain resentment against God as to one who is always making impossible demands and always inexplicably angry. The worst we have done to God is to leave him alone. Why can't he return the compliment? Why not live and let live? What call has he, of all beings, to be angry? It's easy for him to be good. Now, at the moment when a man feels real guilt, moments too rare in our lives, all these blasphemies vanish away. That passage is from The Problem of Pain, which carries the following subtitle: The Intellectual Problem Raised by Human Suffering, Examined with Sympathy and Realism. If nothing else, C.S. Lewis provides us with an insight into the Christian idea of sympathy. And to his credit, he does accomplish one of his goals. He illustrates quite vividly, even if unintentionally, a primary cause of human suffering, the idea of sin itself. Lewis has the candor to admit that what other Christians prefer to ignore, that Christianity thrives on guilt. Guilt, not love, is the fundamental emotion that Christianity seeks to induce. And this is symptomatic of a viciousness in Christianity that few people care to acknowledge. For all of its alleged concern for the poor in spirit, Christianity does its best to perpetuate spiritual impoverishment. In summary, religious morality may be described as the denaturalization of values. It divorces the pursuit of values from their natural consequences and relies instead on sanctions, both physical and psychological, to motivate obedience to its moral rules. In Christianity, hell is the most prominent physical sanction, and sin, the psychological equivalent of hell, is the most common psychological sanction. With its emphasis on obedience, enforced through the inculcation of fear and guilt, Christianity has transformed morality into something that is generally considered ominous and distasteful. With its emphasis on punishment and reward in an afterlife, Christianity is largely responsible for the notion that morality is impractical and has little or nothing to do with man's life and happiness on earth. The religious concern with the religious concern with obedience, duty, and guilt stands in stark contrast to the rational conception of morality, where man is of central concern, where man's life is the standard of value, and where moral principles function for human welfare. Any link between religion and morality is not only unjustified, it's enormously harmful. The religious view of morality is still widely accepted. Children are raised by it, and men attempt to live by it, with the result that millions of people practice in the name of morality what amounts to emotional intellectual suicide. Having sketched the basic meta-ethical distinction between rational morality and religious morality, we shall now explore the specific consequences of religious morality as they are manifested in Christianity. So there's that. Hondo Versatroll, what in the actual fuck is going on right now? Versatroll's in here? Have y'all checked out her channel? I mean, I can't say much for the gaming content because I'm not a gamer, so that interests me not. But her critiques of Christianity in the Bible are, I love it. Now, Versatroll is not an atheist. However, she doesn't believe in the God of the Bible. And neither do I. And that's why I like Versatroll. And I wish she would do more content like that. You know what I mean? Because that shit's fucking awesome. And I loved it. And it was so thorough. You know what I'm saying? I loved it. You gave such thoroughgoing takedowns in your critique of Christianity and the Bible and in your interpretations. And fucking, I really wish more of that would continue. But I get it, man. The Bible is a hard read. That shit is not fun, you know? But to answer your question, it's this book, Atheism, The Case Against God by George Smith, forwarded by Lawrence Krauss. It was $18 where I'm at in Ohio. But yeah, it's not a very big book. It's only 326 pages, and we are on page 305. I just finished All That's Wrong with the Bible, and it's basically, I guess you could call it a compendium of contradictions that are throughout the Bible. Obviously, not all of them, but a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? So that's a pretty good book. I mean, because like some of the contradictions he pointed out, that I was already aware of, but then there were others that I was like, I did not know about these. You know, but it's a good one. It's also not a very big book. Like I don't even think it's 200 pages. Like it's like 190 something pages, I think. But yeah, All That's Wrong with the Bible, contradictions and whatnot. So that's another good one. C.S. Lewis, The Problem of Pain. Hondo. I don't know why I love that name. Game suck. Well, is the Versatroll a witch? I mean, no offense. She kind of looked like one. When I think of a witch, she's what comes to mind. I'm just bullshitting, man. Because like witches be looking like all kinds of shit. Like Ryan called Tastic a goddess. You know what I'm saying? She looked like a witch. Like when I think of witches, she's kind of what image comes to mind. More of like a 2006 witch. You know what I'm saying? In the cult scene. But I fucking love it. Yeah, I mean. What up, Skeptic Philosophy? I was just watching your channel earlier, brother. You and that other yahoo. But I don't know. Like I agree with some of the points dude raised, but then others I was just like, I don't know. I think I had a different interpretation of that shit. Like, cause when we get down to like subjective and objective, is when we start to like have to really get into the weeds, and that's not necessarily a fun place in which to exist in the weeds. but but essentially, I just think because we're and it's funny that because it seemed like once I saw that stream and then like decided to start reading my book again, not my book, but this book that I'm reading, it just happened to start on like ethics. I'm like, he was just talking about that, like what how you feel like the way if I can steal man your position, I felt like you were saying that like you look at ethics as sort of like up here, right? And where like morality is sort of like subordinated to ethics in some sense. Like to use your words, I think you said that like value or ethics you consider to be systematized. Or I guess you didn't like say this, but then like so I just inferred that, well, okay, well then I guess you're saying that morality is if it's subordinated to the ethical system, then you're just talking about instances in which one's behavior could be judged morally or immorally based on the ethics of the system in which you're operating. Is like if that is that what you were saying? Like that's what I took away from it, even though like it wasn't necessarily articulated in that fashion, but that's what I got from what you were saying. He said, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, no problem, son. They got goat hair on his chest. I'll take it. Dave does not have a bank account. You motherfucking right. I haven't had a bank account since I got out the army. Cause like when I joined, they kind of like made me have one so that they could set up my payments and shit. So that was the last time I had a bank account, and it was with Provident Bank. Like I don't even think they're in business anymore. But these are loose terms. I think people use them definitely differently. Yeah, yeah, they do. They're not as loose, I think, as Christians. I don't even think that they're being used loosely when it comes to Christians. I think they're just, I think they're being used incorrectly, erroneously. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Christians and them talking about, the difference between subjective and objective. Because when we're talking about, when they want to say like objective morality, they just mean it's objective because the Bible says it. And that comes from their God, and God is good. So therefore, whatever he commands is good. And that which is good is represented by his edicts in the Bible, I guess. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not objective. You know what I mean? I'm like, because if it's still subjective, it's subjective to the will of this God. Like, therefore, morality is still not objective. Like, morality would have to be something out there to which this God appealed in order to give you these rules that you're calling objective, although they are subjective. They're objective in the sense that I guess these arbitrary rules he came up with subjectively, if you wish to live in the afterlife and avoid hell, then it would be following these edicts are therefore they would be objective in that sense. Like this particular action of yours is either conducive to the goal of getting to heaven and avoiding hell, or it's not. You know what I'm saying? And therefore, it can be evaluated objectively. Like this is either objectively good towards that goal, or it's objectively not. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not really free of a. It's like it's free from our opinion of it. It just is. Like this is either going to lead to this or it's not. You know. So something to that effect. Like I like how Matt Dillahunty puts it. He says the game of chess is invented by us. Like we just came up with it. Someone invented the game of chess and subsequently invented the rules accompanying chess. He just made them up. You know, it could have been anything. Could have made the rules whatever he wanted, but he came up with the rules, and therefore if your goal is to avoid getting your queen captured or basically to avoid losing, then there are objectively good and bad moves that you could make towards that goal. You know what I mean? But without the specified goal, there's no such thing as you should do this or that. Like just in a vacuum, like, well, what's the goal? I should only do this or that or avoid this or that depending on the goal or the objective. You know what I mean? And so I like that analogy. It's like, yeah, the rules could have been whatever they subjective. The rules were subjective, but your actions with respect to achieving that goal of you know not losing or not having your queen captured, there are certain rules, certain moves that you can make that are objectively good or bad towards that end. So I don't mean to beat the fucking horse, but I think you get it. But some people are fucking slow. So I have to like say it 14 times, even though you got it after like the second time, probably the first, but whatever. Don't hate on the long hair. I like the long hair, Versatroll. You know what I mean? What's good, Dave? What's up, DJ? Sitting here chilling, son. Was reading a book. I might continue actually. My girlfriend gets off work at 6 on Saturdays. And then the Ohio State versus Indiana game comes on at 8. I don't give a fuck about that, but she does. So I'm gonna watch it with her. You know what I mean? And before she gets home, I'd like to get some shit done. Like I only rolled up this one other blunt. And she smoked more than I do. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to get another blunt rolled up for her before she get here and shit. But it doesn't take that long to do. I really want to read this, man. This just looks so fun. I love this book. I love this book. This is my favorite book. It used to be 50 Reasons People Give for Believing in a God by Guy P. Harrison, because I read that book like 4 or 5 times. You know what I'm saying? Just like I've read Misquoting Jesus 4 times. Jesus Before the Gospels, I think I read that like 3 times. Like, but this is technically only my first read through because I just got this book. You know what I mean? And it's so good. Like I've underlined so much in here. Like the last couple fucking uh quizzes or whatever that I posted or whatever were from this book. You know what I'm saying? Because he was going in, bro. Like, hold on, let me say something. Like, here's just some random shit I underlined. If a supernatural being is to be exempt from natural law, it cannot possess specific determinate characteristics. Therefore, we must somehow conceive of a being without a specific nature, a being that is indeterminate, a being, in other words, that is nothing in particular. To be is to be something as opposed to nothing. And to be something is to be something specific. If a God is to have any characteristics, which it must exist, these characteristics must be specific. But to assign definite attributes, to say that a being is this as opposed to that, is to limit the capacities of that being and to subject it to the uniformity imposed by those capacities. A supernatural being, if it is to differ in kind from natural existence, must exist without a limited nature, which amounts to existing without any nature at all. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, the logic is just thick on this motherfucker, dog. Like, I'm just like, After I read that, I'm like, facts, son. God damn, like, bro, it's some like this. Oh, say it again. Here he says, look, this ain't that, but it's Christians who appeal to happiness as a reward for belief display a shocking disregard for intellectuality and the pursuit of truth. Even if Christianity did lead to happiness, this wouldn't demonstrate its correctness. The Christian who attempts to defeat atheism by subordinating truth to emotionalism accomplishes nothing aside from revealing his contempt for man's ability to think. Like, see what I'm saying? Like, he basically like, fuck Christianity, but he just won't say those words. But everything he's saying is like, bro, that shit should be scraped from the planet. Like here, he's saying like he was saying some shit. Oh no, there was some shit that I like underlined the whole fucking paragraph. Like he was just on a roll. He says, when atheism is recognized as the absence of theism, the preceding maneuver falls to the ground. Proof is applicable only in the case of a positive belief. To demand proof of the atheist, the religionist must represent atheism as a positive belief, requiring when the atheist is seen as a person who lacks belief in a God, it becomes clear that he is not obligated to prove anything. The term atheist tells us that one does not believe in a God, but it doesn't tell you why. Just tells you that they don't. You know what I mean? An atheist, an explicit atheist, is one who rejects belief in a God. This deliberate rejection of theism presupposes familiarity with theistic beliefs and is sometimes characterized as anti theism. Explicit atheism may be motivated by psychological factors, but they are philosophically irrelevant. The most significant variety of atheism is explicit atheism of a philosophical nature. This atheism contends that the belief in God is irrational and should therefore be rejected. Since this version of explicit atheism rests on a criticism of theistic beliefs, it is best described as critical atheism. Critical atheism derives from the failure of theism to provide sufficient evidence in its favor. Faced with a lack of evidence, this explicit atheist sees no reason whatsoever for believing in a supernatural being. I guess you can call myself a critical atheist because that perfectly encapsulates my sentiment with regard to Christianity. Like, yeah, I reject your God. I've seen no evidence, no compelling argumentation, nothing at all in favor of your proposition. Nothing. So I'm just not compelled. It's not like, oh, I believe it, but I just won't tell you. I reject the belief that I truly have. Like, that's not what's going on here. It's an honest assessment of my mental fucking state. You know what I mean? And I just don't believe there's a fucking God. You know what I mean? I used to get weird about saying shit like, fuck God. Like, Jesus can suck a dick and shit like that. Like, that shit used to make me feel weird when I'd say it because I'm thinking, like, ooh, maybe he'll get me, or whatever. Maybe he heard that. But now it's like, motherfucker, ain't nobody listening to shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the government is probably listening, but the government ain't Jesus. I hope y'all don't think the government is Jesus. But yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, man, ain't no motherfucking gods. All this shit is made the fuck up. Like, when you really read into this shit is made the hell up. For the purposes I stated earlier in a fucking short. Just to keep you motherfuckers dumb and compliant. Okay? Because if you're dumb, you're easier to compel to obey. That's what I'm saying. I just love that. It says to be is to be something as opposed to nothing. And to be something is to be something specific. I just love that. It's like, yeah, you can't say, like, existence is just the natural state of affairs. You know what I'm saying? But in order to not violate the law of identity, we have to know what your God is. When someone says God loves you, I'd be like, what do you mean by God? What is that? And I don't want you to tell me who he is. No. What is he? Is it a human? Is your God a fucking just a mental construct? Like, what the fuck are we talking about right now? God is a spirit, a magical being, or whatever the fuck they'll say. I'm like, well, what the fuck is that? What is that? We're carbon-based life forms. You know what I'm saying? Comprised of like atoms and all that shit. What is a spirit? What is that? What is it comprised of? You know what I mean? Like, what are its fundamental elements? And how do you know that? And how do you know that it can interact with the material world, with atoms and whatnot? How do you know that? What evidence do you have? And if you point to the Bible, I'm going to slap the stupid out of you. Because in order for you to justify magic, and then I say, how do you know magic is real? You're like, because it's in Harry Potter. Like, clearly they can fly on broomsticks when they're playing Quidditch. So magic is real. It's like, that's not how this works. You just can't point to the book, dum-dum. Any book can say anything. It's like, where outside of the book can we look to substantiate the claims made in the book? You can't use the book to prove itself unless you're an idiot. And there are a lot of those. So I think I went too far. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. Oh, y'all missed chapter 10, the design arguments. Because he talked about the teleological argument, the fucking argument from life. I mean, he talked about just all kinds. That was a good chapter. I'm sorry y'all missed it. I done lost my page instead. Wait, I don't think I was this far. Hold on. Oldest and crudest sanction, physical force. Yeah, we already said that. Here's another gem. We already said that. The notion of sin is perhaps the most effective sanction ever. I disobeyed God when I did nothing wrong. The conflicting virtues. Here we All right. I'm gonna leave it there since it's 5:30, so I can like. I already vacuumed, man. I already cleaned the litter boxes. I already did the dishes and put them away. I already made the bed. I really don't know what there else is there to do except fucking roll up more blunts, and that's always fun. Guess I'll do that. I was gonna make some more shorts, but I don't know. I'm kind of salty that my Bad Buddy short isn't doing so well. I mean, I should have figured, man. It's not like a lot of my audience is into Bad Bunny. You know what I mean? Like, he don't speak English at all in this song, to my knowledge. But I fucking love that song. Like, I'm obsessed with it. That's why I had to make a short out of it. Like, I'll make a short out of any song that I'm obsessed with. You know what I mean? Within reason. Because there's some that I really, 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 really like, but I just don't have the like. I don't think my body can handle it. You know what I mean? Because like I wanted to like cover Lorna Shore's new song, because that breakdown is insane. You know what I mean? And some others, but it's like that takes a lot out of me, you know. And so, but no, I'm just kind of salty, man, that Bad Bunny one I did ain't doing so well. Cause like you know how hard it was trying to learn that Spanish and shit. Like I had to like look up the lyrics, right, and then read them while he's saying them, so that I can see how he pronounces it differs from how it's spelled. You know what I'm saying? Because like you can look at some shit and think it's said one way, and it may be, but the way they say it naturally in conversation or while singing is different, and you may not catch it. So I mean, it took a lot of work just trying to memorize those few lines and to make sure that I was enunciating them correctly, so that people would think like, "Oh, he really saying that shit," you know. Because it was not that easy, but it gave me a little insight into like how people speak, you know, that kind of Puerto Rican Spanish. I was, and it just made me wish I could speak like that. I wish I could speak that shit, man. That shit seemed fun, man, like and interesting. And then like I saw like another like other shorts of other people who were like doing like an English rendition of the song, so that you can hear what he's talking about in English. You know what I'm saying? And I had no idea. I mean, it makes sense now that when I realize what the lyrics are, and then you see the video, it makes sense, you know. But I didn't know that when I was making the video. I just was like, I really fucking like this song, and I like the video. So yeah, I had to do the song. I just fucking love it, and I started to take it down just because it's not doing very well. But fuck that. I'm gonna leave it up. I'm gonna leave it up because it took a lot of work for me to do that. That was probably one of my hardest ones, just because it's I don't speak another language. You know what I'm saying? Like at all. You know. So like like most like typical American, you know what I'm saying? I only know one language. But at least I'm anyway. So like that was difficult trying to learn, trying to get the nuances of just those few bars or whatever in order to convey accurately the the words being said. So I'm gonna leave it up just because it was an effort, and I'm proud of it. Damn it, I don't care if it doesn't get many likes or views. I mean, it's gotten a lot of views. It's seen like over 1 point something thousand times, but the likes are just not there, dude. You know, and I don't know why. Like maybe they think I'm making fun of it. Like I don't know. I'm never making fun of the music that I do. I genuinely love it. That's why I make a video with it, because I just am that into it. Or someone just asked me to. Like, hey, can you do this song? And then I looked it up and I was like, this song is dope. And then so I'll make the video. Otherwise, it's like I probably already made the video and they just haven't looked at my vast library of fucking shorts. Because like I started this channel just making mostly fucking rock music fucking lip syncs until I started getting, until I started evolving as an adult and got into other things, because then you can start to see my progression. Like, oh, Ethan found Hassan Piker. oh, discovered the atheist experience, and some other shit. And the next thing you know, here I am. So you could just sort of see the progression. Because I started at TikTok, but then TikTok banned me, and there's a whole video about that. That's my oldest TikTok or my oldest YouTube short. Yeah, I just said like, yeah, YouTube or TikTok banned me permanently for no fucking reason. They basically were saying like, oh, nudity and sexual content. Like, what the fuck? I'm not doing any of that shit. What the hell's going on right now? Y'all just making rules up? Y'all just making up shit? It's like, nudity. It's like, what? I guess. And permanently banned me for that. So whatever, I didn't get it. And I'm like, and so that made me not want to be on TikTok anymore because I'm like, if harmless me lip syncing to a harmless song, no like sexual shit in the content or the lyrics, just like some Metallica or some shit. I'm just like lip syncing fucking One or some shit. And you know what I mean? And then like you're like, that's sexual explicit content. I'm like, well, then I don't know what the fuck is safe. Like, I don't know if this video might be, ooh, I don't know how TikTok will feel about that. Or this one where it's like, oh, that's good. That's totally safe. But that's the one that gets me banned. It's like, then I have no way of determining what video is safe and which one will get me fucking in trouble. So, I don't want to live with that kind of fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck that. So fuck TikTok. I was like, man, I ain't got time for that shit, man. Especially when I didn't even have my shirt off. I made a lot of TikToks without a shirt on, but that's it. I don't pants and shit. But then I'm seeing other TikToks where bitches is fucking damn near naked. You know what I mean? BBLs with just thongs on and shit, and like really thin covering of their areolas and whatnot. But that's allowed to circulate. I know it was because look how many likes it got. You know, and it's like, but my shit gets banned. I get for nudity and sexual content. I ain't showing shit. Some bullshit. That's why I was like, man, fuck TikTok. But that was a long time. That was like years ago at this point. Because I've been on YouTube since like I think 2017. I don't know if I've been a content creator since 2017, but I've been on here for a minute and I ain't fucking I mean, I have a YouTube or a TikTok account. Like I recently posted, like made one like maybe a year or so ago. But I don't fuck with it. Like I don't even remember the password. So like I don't upload nothing to it. Like it's just there. Oh well, I ain't concerned. Fuck TikTok, bro. Especially since I can't monetize here on YouTube at all. You can't send me super chats. I don't have a Patreon. None of that shit. You either buy, you can either send me money directly to my PayPal, or you can buy some merch from the merch store, which is what I would suggest. Like, just get you some fucking merch, dog. Get you some fuck Christianity shirts. Get you some fuck Jesus shirts. Get you some Antichrist. Get you some fucking Dave Murphy mugs. Whatever you get, it all helps. Somebody got a nice ass, you know what I'm saying? Because I gave out like a 50%. No, it was like 40%. I think I gave out like a 40% off code for Black Friday, and like one person utilized it and got a big ass deal. Like that motherfucker. And because of that, like because I have to pay the difference, like so whatever the 40% was, I personally have to cover that 40% difference. You know what I mean? And so that made my profit negative $22, which is fine. I don't give a fuck. Like I said, I wasn't in this business to make a profit. I wanted to make dope shit and then make it cheap enough that the average person could get this dope shit. You know what I'm saying? Now, a lot of people won't get it even though they want to because they don't feel that they could wear it safely in their community without getting beat the fuck up or harassed or chastised by their parents or whatever. And I get that. But just know it's there. You know what I'm saying? And it's cheap. All my Bible verse shirts aren't even $20. They're cheaper than that. It's just most of my shirts. The overwhelming majority of my shirts are $20. There's some that are cheaper than that, and very, very, very few, like maybe 2 or 3 shirts that are more than $20. But they're not more than 25. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So yeah, I didn't mean to make this a pitch for my fucking merch. I'm just letting y'all know. Like I don't make any money off of here. That's literally the only way I get money through this channel is through y'all knowing about my merch store and then buying merch. That's it. And I don't, like I said, and the shit's on there is cheap as fuck, so that pretty much anyone can get it. I'd make it even cheaper, but the people who actually make the clothes and make the products gotta get paid somehow, you know what I'm saying? So I made it so I don't really get much profit at all, you know. I mean, because it's all profit. I didn't invest anything. I just made the artwork and submitted it. They did all the actual work. So why would I get a decent cut of I don't need it. I mean, I need it, but it's like I don't think it's fair for me to get it when I didn't do the most of the work. I did the least. I came up with the concept and then y'all made it happen. So that's what's up. So yeah, I'll put a link to my fucking store. Actually, no, it's just in my bio, man. You know what I'm saying? It's in the description of my fucking channel. It's like right there. Dave Murphy, fourth wall, whatever. If you want to get you something. Somebody said I should make shirts for women, and then I realized like I do. Like they're all the shirts are technically listed that I pick are technically listed as unisex. You know what I'm saying? Now they have some that are specifically for women, but those are usually like the crop tops. And this isn't crop top season. This sweater season, baby. Hoodie season, son. Matter of fact, she. So we got to root for Ohio State to beat Indiana, y'all. Indiana and Ohio State are both 12-0. Neither of us have lost a game yet. We even beat Michigan with they bitch asses. You know what I'm saying? So we both 12-0. But Ohio State's ranked number 1. Indiana's ranked number 2. But neither of us have lost. So this is a big deal game tonight. You know what I'm saying? 8 o'clock Eastern. You know what I'm saying? You're going to watch it. I'm going to be watching it. You know what I mean? They got a deal going on at the weed spot at the weed depot where you can get. They got some particular strains that they giving out $10 eighths. $10 eighths. So I bought 2 of them. I should have got more, but I ain't had it. I ain't have it like that. So I got an eighth of the. It's called Mule Fuel. So I got an eighth of the Mule Fuel and an eighth of what's called Illuminati because it has like a lemony sort of note to it. The Mule Fuel is fucking dope. So is the Illuminati. I ain't gonna lie. It was both pretty dope. I had the Mule Fuel before. I didn't have the Illuminati before, so that was new. But what I'm smoking now is like from my dude, and I don't know what the fuck it is other than awesome. But yeah, I just thought that was dope. Like, hell no, they got $10 apes. I mean, that's essentially just a blunt, you know what I'm saying? Like a fat blunt, or maybe two at most. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna get 2 if you put them in a raw. You're gonna get like 1 and some change. But if you put them in like a Rillo, you probably get 2 out of an eighth. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just thought that was dope. So I thought I'd tell y'all that. Like, yeah, mule fuel, I advocate. Like, I would, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I vouch for that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I vouch for the mule fuel and the Illuminati, and also the wizard snot. I don't know if you ever had the wizard snot, but that's dope. So you try that. I do not smoke, says Handel. And she's only 8 years old, raising her right. Who only 8 years old? I'm smoking Kentucky homegrown. That's what's up. Kentucky 80. Oh, hell no. Tara Lynn in it, bitch. Tara Lynn, motherfucking Dawkins is in the room. I don't believe it. What's up, mature cafe manager? I've been holding back from saying this for the longest time, but I swear Dade looks like Terry fucking Crews, man. I've heard that before. You know what I'm saying? I've heard Terry Crews, I've heard Jamie Foxx, I've heard Brian McKnight, I've heard Tyrese. I've heard them all. I don't agree with any of them. Except Brian McKnight. I can kind of see that. But that's it. You know. Damn it, man, Murph. The Dade seal of approval. What up, my dude? AR the Beach. AR. You look like John Jones. I don't know who that is. Charlie Murphy. Is that the real color of Dade's walls? Yeah. What's wrong with my color walls, man? It's like a grayish kind of color. I don't know what you call it. It's kind of gray. And the cabinets are like have a blue to it. Like they're not the same color. Like, how's the cats? Oh, they all right. Gotta be. Lil P. I don't know where they at. They're around here somewhere. Johnny, you hear me calling you, bro? People asking about you. Oh, you're not Donnie B. You can tell you. Where Donnie B? Donnie B. Lil P. I think they in their room. Chilling and shit. Bro, look up John Jones, UFC. Donnie B. John Pauls Jones, legendary African American mixed martial arts athlete. Oh, okay. I would say was legendary. Got it. Dade is a study in shades of light and dark. I made a leaf pile. I'm gonna do some funny acting out front. Terrellin, you are a gift. Just a gift. You know what I mean? He's probably sleeping. Leave him alone. Aunt Jer. What is the deal on the brown door? What's he talking about? Hi, Dade. How's it today? What up, K Wiv? The homie. That's right, Mike. Everybody is born an atheist. Even though I'm X. You misspelled atheist. How dare you? Fuck. They gonna fucking 18 and up this stream. It should already be though. English with Dade. Damn right. I mistype all the time. Hi, Dade. What's up, Calacio? My biggest regret of art protests is that we couldn't get together. Sorry, man. Was in over my head. It's all good, buddy. It's all good, son. Maybe I'll come down there one day and we'll just hang out. I mean, Kentucky ain't that far from here. You know, not even like where the Ark was is that far from here. But Kentucky don't have legal weed. Like, you just come up to Ohio, bro. Like, we could just smoke legally. You know what I mean? Just outside in front of people, right? I still haven't had weed delivered to me outside of my dealer. Like, I haven't had like because when I went to what was it? I don't know if I was in like Detroit. I think I was in Detroit. Was that Detroit? I don't remember if it was Cleveland or Detroit. But I remember like you could order weed from the dispensary on DoorDash, and these motherfuckers delivered it to our hotel. I'm like, hell nah. Like I just couldn't believe it. Like these motherfuckers just really just walked in the lobby. You know what I'm saying? Like, hi, Mr. Murphy. Here's your bag and shit. Like, oh wow. Good looking out. Like, this is so weird. Like, I love it, you know. So I had to do it. I got legal weed in Kentucky. Bruh, Kentucky do not have legal weed, bruh. Like y'all don't pass recreational weed in Kentucky. I didn't know that. When did that happen? I live on the border of Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. We can run 5 minutes down road and get legal weed in Ohio and bring back. I'm completely legal to have a bunch here. Oh, that's what's up. Magic shrooms at the store in Tennessee. Date my delivered today. Ask well. Oh, I love her. Gave her a tweet J and J. Man. I'm telling you, Tara Lynn, a gift. I can show you my med card. I knew it. I knew that's what it was. Like y'all allowed to have medicinal weed. You know what I'm saying? So I guess you do have legal weed. What are your thoughts on physicists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Cox, Einstein? What do you mean? I think they're good science communicators. Like I like the way Brian Cox talks. He's all like soft spoken and shit. Contrasted to sort of the bombastic nature, if you will, of Dr. Tyson. But I like watching Star Talk. You know what I'm saying? And who else did you say? Oh, and Einstein. I mean, I like Einstein's theories. Like I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I cannot be with this crowd of smoking losers. Well, you're a loser for judging smokers just for smoking. So there's that. Good day to you. Good day to you, sir. Or madam. Or whatever the fuck you are. I'm in Calgary, Alberta. I wish I was there. You know what I mean? Just because I've never been to Canada. Who you calling a loser, you basement dweller? Lol. I love it. Exio en español. I don't smoke. I still enjoy Date's content. That's what's up, K With. I know you do. You're like one of my top commenters. So is Calacia. So is fucking. Um, I don't think any of y'all beat Tara Lynn. Like Tara Lynn comments and then responds to her comment and then responds to her response to her comment all the time. All the time. You know what I mean? So like she's got to be my number one commenter, like easily. Just unhinged, every one of them. And I love it all. Like if I ever need a laugh, I'll just read one of Tara Lynn's comments and just giggle my motherfucking ass off. You know what I mean? It's just so unhinged. I love it. John, what up, son? What up, AK? Hello from California. Want me to send you some sunshine? That was a terrible impression. Geesh, see, fate will have you medically approved for Mary Jane. I guess. Are you atheist? You goddamn right. Which means I'm rational. It doesn't, but I'm a rational person. You know what I mean? I acquiesce to reason, evidence, and there's no evidence for any of your gods. So, look for that ultimate prayer seed. Straight up. I know I need to get some more coffee. I'm like fucked up right now. You know what I mean? Like all I have is this one from fucking CVS Speedway. And once it's out, that's it. So I don't have no more coffee. I mean, I'm not trying to go buy no more, man. Like Speedway is kind of close, but it's not. Day that judge and woman law. Her medical approved. I know, Tara Lynn. I know. All right, y'all, man. I'm about to get out of here for real. So I can do those things like I said I was gonna do. And prepare for tonight's game. Go Bucks. Buckeyes. Ohio. Go Ohio State. Yeah. My card for Doug. Ha! Wait, hold on. Cancel. No, I'm gonna just end. How do I end it? Oh, it says it right here. End stream. I'm stupid. Yeah, wait. Do you want to stop immediately? Yeah, dog.